Hello there, Gravekeeper here. So, this is a different type of video. I went to Fate 2 in Stoke yesterday, and I went 4-1 with Horus. Oh dear, there's a bit of glare there. I'll try to keep that to a minimum for you. So this is completely unscripted. I've got a few cue cards and stuff like that to it. Anyway, so I went 4-1 with Horus in the GOAT format event. Didn't win the whole thing. I went into top 6. Because not enough people arrived, we had to do a weird Duelist Kingdom style format. For a sort of ladder thing. So basically what we do with bet star chips is like in the anime. And then whoever got the most chips went to finals. I didn't gamble enough, but I got the best win record from what I know. I thought I went 3-1, but then I remembered I think Frenzy, who I also beat, so I was like, oh yeah, wait, it's 4-1. Yeah. So I took this deck off a website on goatfallout.com. It was an article about the dragons. Now, the YDK file was updated compared to when the original thing went up, so I took what was there and built off it. So without further ado, let's get into the deck itself. So firstly we have 1 Horus level 8, 2 Horus level 6, and a Horus level 4. So that's all you need, but I do slide a 3rd level 6 in case there's more removal, for example, if they use Lightning Vortex, which you should be playing ideally, but yeah, some people don't, so I don't know. Horus level 4 is definitely one of the weakest links in the deck, but it comes up surprisingly often in times where you're just in a grind game and you just can't seem to get to your stuff. Sometimes the attack stat's just enough to get over something to resolve it. And also, crucially, because it can't change control, it's unaffected by Thousand Eyes Restrict, which does come up surprisingly often, actually. I didn't expect it to be that impactful, but yeah. It's very important to know that ruling. Level 6 is unaffected by spell cards, so when you revive it with Premature Burial, it actually doesn't die if somebody pops it. Horus level 8 is effectively a one-sided Imperial Order. You can negate any spell that the opponent uses, and your own as well if you really wanted to, but don't actually do that. But it can't. But it has to be something by its own effect, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, those are the important cards in the poster boy of the deck. Now you may be wondering how we get to that, but I will reveal that when it comes. Now for the other monsters, we have Sangon. We don't have as many search targets here, because a lot of the cards I use are 1600. But it's still important because it gets Tsukiyomi at minimum, which is fantastic. That's more than enough for me to want to use it in the deck. Also, summoning and then using Torrential is brilliant as well. I love that play. 1 Sinister Serpent because it's important. This is, as you'll notice, all my cards are originals. And you're allowed to use proxies at the event, but I refuse to because it feels awful. I can't be using proxies. And then we have a Breaker. I absolutely adore Breaker in this format. Breaker is just, oh god, I love it. So flexible. A lot of people when you first start playing GOAT, they'll immediately use the effect to pop as trap or something like that. Don't do that. Sometimes the 1900 is just enough, and that's more very important. Sometimes just sitting on it for a while is enough to accumulate a few draws, stuff like that, and then you can use it. I prefer to use it when I know that I've got to start going for the big beating with Horus level 6, because keep in mind it has to beat a monster by battle to level up into level 8. So you really want to save Breaker for those moments, in my opinion, when you're about to go for the big blowout play. This deck is identified by its explosiveness. That's the key here. So I have Tsukiyomi, another very flexible card. I actually used it to flip down my Dark Bolts of a Terrible at one point to stop myself from getting stop me from negating my spells. I adored that play. It still makes me grate a bit. Maining Tribe, because if you'll notice by the attack stats of level 6 and level 8, you'll notice here, Horus level 6 has 2300, while Horus level 8 has 3000. So they'll crash with the big Chaos monsters. That's very important, and you'll often find that happening. So because they do Chaos Sorcerer does target, and when you have King Dragon out, which we'll get to in a bit, that you'll have these very scary moments, and you want to have something to beat over them. Yeah, so Tribe just solves that problem. They have Morphing Jar and Cyber Jar. Those are your big flippies. You know what they do. Cyber Jar resolving that thing is one of the worst things ever. Oh my god. Came up a lot because I thought Empty Jar. I'll get to the matchups in a bit though. Then we have 2 Moth, reusing spells. Many people use it to just draw more cards, but I personally prefer to just reuse Metamorphosis. Stuff like that is really nice. Now for all the cards I didn't expect to be so handy, Double Fusilier. So Fusilier, it's level 7, which means it's a metamorphosis target for King Dragon. This is a huge thing for the deck, and it's why it functions. But additionally, Fusilier on its own is not a bad card. Normal something for the 1400, 1400 it's terrible, but the big thing is that you can actually use Tsukiyomi or Book of Moon to make it forget how it was summoned, which means it goes back to its 2800. Very important ruling to remember, because that it literally defines some of your game plans. Fusilier can be a very explosive card on its own, and it's very reliable. It's very good at reasoning gate decks, but this deck sides it for some reason, but I never really found myself boarding into it either, so I don't know. Then you have a Stein. Stein came up in against Empty Jar, where I used it for Dark Bolts of the Terrible, and the opponent didn't open more than 2 spells, so I won game 2 thanks to it. Stein in general is just a great way to just force out certain things, and it's also nice Sanguine Search target. As you saw, this deck doesn't have many targets for that, so Stein is great for that purpose as well. Onto the spells. Let's just pull these away. We have Triple Metamorphosis. This card is literally the reason why I play GOAT format at all. I absolutely adore Metamorphosis. I obviously should have come back in Modern, but like using it in a format like this, where you have like all these really strange fusion monsters, I really enjoy it. So yeah, that's why I'm playing it. Then we have Triple Book of Moon. I couldn't believe this was at 3, but yeah, it is apparently. Using on Fusilier to make it go back up buff its is brilliant, because it's also a 2k wall, keep in mind, so even if it slipped down, it's not exactly out. Although it's terrible when it gets knocked, I hate that. But yeah, General Book of Moon just comes up in so many situations, and I'm very glad to have it. This Scapegoat is apparently illegal because it's thicker, but because the event was sanctioned, I didn't get a game loss for it. But as you can see, it's the Hobby League promo. I need to replace that soon. But we use Triple Goat because it's Goat format, why wouldn't you? Again, Metamorphosis Deter, stuff like that, you know what this card does. Premature Burial. I should be playing True Name in this deck, but I don't have one, so yeah. Because like True Name Prima is really fun. But yeah, just general, this card is fantastic. Revive Fusilier is brilliant after using Metamorphosis. All sorts of situations where Premature Burial comes up. If I could run 3, I would. Enemy Controller. This card is great because it takes cards to give you more Metamorphosis targets. I use Snatch Steal for the same purpose. But it's not just that though, because Enemy Controller itself is a very flexible card. Because again, like it's just there's so many situations where like taking control of monsters does things for you in Go format. And Change the Battle Position does sometimes come up as well. I just love Enemy Controller, especially because of like Duel Links. I played a lot of Duel Links, so that's like one of the big reasons why I like this deck. Goddess. Never resolved it once, I don't think. Never came up once for me, because my hands are often just too good to like drop. Maybe I just got very lucky or something like that, but I just generally didn't want to use it. One knock, I side the other one. I originally had 3 until I realised it was at 2, and I was like, oh no. So there's a story for that, but I'll get to that when it gets to siding. Mystical Space Typhoon, just spot removal for stuff. Then your standard Graceful, Pot of Greed, you know how it is. Graceful Charity is really good in this deck, obviously. It's good in every deck. It's mandatory. But yeah, like dropping like Sinister Serpent and a Fusilier, then using Premature Burial for Fusilier is just, great play. Obviously, Pot of Greed, Inherent +1, need to play it. Heavy Storm. So like it's hard to explain. Only use this when you know it's going to work. A lot of people like just use it willy-nilly, but like save it for when it will be a plus for you. Don't go even with it. Just make sure it's a big plus. That's a big thing in GOAT format that like I wish I was told when I first started. Because again, with GOAT format, your big board wipes should be used only when they are like going to give you big things, because they're very limited in this format, and it's also very good for just OTKing. Duo, why wouldn't you play this? It's fucking brilliant. Had so many blowouts with Liquid Duo. Every time I pulled it, I was just very happy to see it. So on to the very few traps in the deck. Call of Haunted, Revival. It gives me something to tribute for level 6. Horus, that kind of thing. Mirror Force. You need at least one battle trick. This is the only one my deck runs. Torrential. You can get to a Sangan is absolutely orgasmic. Stuff like that. It's just generally a fantastic card. Then Double Royal Decree. If you use this alongside Horus level 8, you're basically locking the opponent out of the game, especially if you have King Dragon out as well. That's effectively an unbreakable board in GOAT formats. There's like very few ways to interact with it. Obviously, BLS is a big blowout against it, but you've got to be stopping BLS most of the time. I feel like this deck should run Kaiku for that reason, but I didn't have one to put in. And I do think it'll be quite helpful. So, onto the Fusion deck. We run Triple Tur, because of course we do. Also, fair warning, this is only 12 cards. It's infinite in GOAT formats, but I did want to at least reach the 15 quota, but I couldn't afford the last of the cards. So we have Triple Tur from different sets too, which I think is quite cute. This card is a Floodgate. It's everything. Well, not just a Floodgate. It's a removal spell. It's everything. Tur does so much in this, and I just could not believe its power when I was actually playing with it. Holy crap! Reaper on the Nightmare. I never summoned this. Ever. I don't really know why, because I did actually nick a Mobius at one point and just didn't really go into it. Fiend Skull Dragon. I wanted to play this, but it never came up, so it's very unfortunate because it's really great. I wish I had a chance to use it against the Empty Jar player, but they don't run any level 5s for specifically this reason, and my deck doesn't have any level 5s either, so, you know. Dark Bolter. He came up exactly once, and I was very happy. Oh my goodness, he's so powerful when he actually goes off. Negating normal spells is mandatory though, so be careful with that. Steining into this is just fantastic. But again, like, keep in mind, you only have 2 spell negates, because keep in mind, it is a mandatory one, which does mean that you actually die, if it's 3. At least that's what I believe, that's what I was told. Don't know if the person was telling porkies, but anyway, the guy came up against, he opened 2 spells and a quick play reload, and Dark Bolter only negates normals. Which also means you could book your own Bolter, which is fantastic. Ryu Senshi is the same one, but for trap cards. Actually came up against one player, which actually scored me the win because he had a Mirror Force in the back, and I was playing around it by using Stein into Ryu Senshi. Very happy that happened. Ojama King stops the opponent from using fusing it for little goats, which I think is very nice. Then Double King Dragoon. I will read this card for you because it reads like a modern card. As long as this card remains faceable on the field, your opponent cannot target Dragon-type monsters on the field for the effect of spell, trap, or monster cards. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 Dragon-type monster from your hand to your side of the field. Yep, it's you can't target your allied dragons with card effects, and also you can just drop them you can just drop one on the board. The dream play with this deck is to go normal summon Fusilier, Metamorphosis Fusilier, go into King Dragon, special summon level 6, attack something. Then you bring out level 8. That's how you build your board, and it's very strong. So we have a Last Warrior. I never summoned this once, so I don't think I ever will. I don't like it in this format for some reason. I'm probably just bad. Then we have a Master of Oz, which is our primary Stein target for getting maximum damage. Now for the side deck, which includes a little bit of heat. So firstly we have the typical removal, DD Warrior Lady, and Exile Force. I use these primarily in Chaos matchups because, again, as I mentioned before, this deck's numbers are just under the threshold for being like good against Chaos. So ideally you want to have like some extra removals for that. The third level 6 is here in case of a lot of like spell card stuff. Never really came up for me, but you know. And then we have triple Gravekeeper's Watcher. Now this is the heat option for the deck. I have to credit my friend Grandpoobah for coming up with this. He said to me, okay, so Library of Decay is probably going to be playing this if somebody wants to win. So what you should be doing is using this for card destruction. And he was right. Oh, I didn't fight Library of Decay, I fought Empty Jar. And because the guy was going on a massive draw chain with card destruction, I managed to stop it from happening thanks to Gravekeeper's Watcher. Now most people say, use Protector of Sanctuary for this. But that means you have to go first and draw it. What Gravekeeper's Watcher does, however, is that because sometimes you see you have Morphing Jar, if you're looping Morphing Jar and you get to Gravekeeper's Watcher, you could stop it with Gravekeeper's Watcher if you draw it, stuff like that. Those little things can come in handy so much against that deck. I didn't expect it to be so helpful, but it was powerful enough that in Game 3, the guy I was playing against actually discarded their card destruction because of the fear of Watcher. And also, in that final game, Cyber backfired. And my Gravekeeper's Watcher the Fountain Attack actually came up for exact lethal. It felt like a fantasy to me, but like, yeah, this card is really, really fun. I do think more people should be looking at it. Lightning Vortex, in case we just need an extra bit of removal. Again, against Chaos, very important. Second Knock, just in case I fight more flippy boys, don't know. Then the Reasoning Gate stuff, which I never boarded into once because I never felt the need to use it. Double Monster Gate, triple Reasoning. Again, like, I didn't feel the need to use these. Because the deck felt solid enough as is. I think I'm just underrating the power of the cards, but I'm not sure. If anyone has any comments on that, please share them with me, because I do think it'll be quite interesting to have a discussion on it. Again, I just don't think this deck needs it, because it's just a lot of good stuff right now, and I don't feel like it may be a bit too gimmicky. I don't know. I think it's because I couldn't afford a DMOC for the deck, and it does want to play that. So maybe that's my fault for that. But like DMOC is very expensive, because I think for IOC. So yeah, I had an offer. Someone offered me like a 180 for one, I think, but I just didn't have the money for it at the time, so I couldn't do it. All right, so here we have Pikaru's Circle of Enchantments. This never came up, and it was used literally just because I had a third knock. I needed to rapidly find a replacement. This card was like the most usable out of the cards I had from the time period, so it just kind of got put in here for no reason. So yeah, like, it's there, it's bad, don't use it, just replace it with like literally anything like a DMOC or something. Then the final card, the Last Royal Decree, in case of fighting more trap matchups. So yeah, that's the deck overall. It's nothing special. Well, I guess it is something special because it's Horus, but yeah. In terms of direction for the deck, I think like what you'd want to do is play with just different things, I guess. Because like especially the side deck like just needs a lot of improvement. But I think this deck is very playable without Reasoning Gates, and it may actually be better in that respect. One of the things I didn't like about Reasoning Gate is that sometimes you have to like drawing multiples, and it just feels really awful. And also like Monster Gate requires a monster, and you don't always have that option. So I do think there's a route for this deck to play without it, and it could possibly be better. But that's obviously my theory this is a theory from somebody who doesn't really interact with the GOAT community much. So take my opinion with a pinch of salt, and call me an idiot in the comments. Anyway, that's about what I have. Fate 2 was great. I really enjoyed it. Alright, matchups. Let's talk about matchups. So, round 1, I fought a guy who had like a bunch of one-offs for a Chaos deck. Like literally just a Chaos deck with like mostly one-offs. I think it was actually all of it was one-offs, because I think the guy just like, didn't like the ratios that came from like limitations and stuff. I had a clear win path like at the end, which was for me to use an Elevated Scapegoat to take Tur, and then take the Chaos Sorcerer for exact lethal. So that was like the game I lost. Then in round 2 I fought a guy who was playing Manticore Safe Return. He bricked and lost because of like that. Then I fought Warrior Box. I experienced the power of Blade Knight. That card is very, very, very strong. Oh my goodness. Absolutely loved fighting like the guy though. He was very kind, and we just like hell. I gave him a lot of tells on what I had, but I just still won out. It was just a very, very close all around though. Like all decks, like it ended with like really big top deck war. And, like, fighting Blade Knight through top decks is absolutely horrifying. God, that card just closed out so much. Then I fought a guy who was playing, I think it was just Chaos Control, but I saw him, with his Thunder Dragons. He only picked up one, and my heart sank. I was like, oh, no. And, because I had opened the full combo of Metamorphosis, Fusilia, and Horus level 6 in hand. I opened the full thing. I think that person was Frenzy. I don't know what he was playing. Then I fought Empty Jar, the one I was talking about earlier. That one, all around, it was a very slog of a game. Game 1 I conceded because the guy was taking too long, and I had a feeling that was going to go like having issues with time. Game 2, Dark Bolter smoked him out, which was great because the guy didn't open well. And then Game 3, his Cyber Jar backfired. At least I think that's how it went. My memory is very scrambled because I was very tired by the end of that. I had a massive migraine. Alright, so shoutouts. Thanks to InfernoKong for being such a fun guy. Oh my goodness, absolutely adored throughout the event. Won the whole Mario Kart Wii tournament with Dry Bowser Flame Flyer. I think it was the name of it, the kart. Yes, indeed, a kart player. Very, very fun. Very fun. And then also shoutouts to Big Yellow. I met them at the event. Very, very, very interesting conversations. Didn't expect to actually like even when they said they were going to be there, I was like, oh yeah, you're not going to be there. And then, yeah, met them and everything. God, it feels so surreal to find the person who just like just jump started my channel. It's like beating an idol almost. Anyway, that's about all I have. This is Pokemon Karma, and I'll see you all next time.